really need Virginia right now. The Democratic vice presidential candidate, he is from Virginia. They think they have a very good shot. Let's get ready. And we have our first projections of the night. Take a look at this. Donald Trump, we project, will win in Kentucky with its 8 electoral votes. Donald Trump wins in Kentucky. Donald Trump also wins in Indiana with its 11 electoral votes. His running mate's home state. Both wins, Kentucky and Indiana for Donald Trump. We have more projections right now. We project that Hillary Clinton is the winner in Vermont. 3 electoral votes, Vermont. Hillary Clinton is the winner in Vermont, Bernie Sanders' home state. We have a key race alert right now. Too early to call in Georgia with its 16 electoral votes. We cannot make a projection yet. Too early to call in Virginia with its 13 electoral votes. We cannot make a projection yet. And too early to call in South Carolina right now. 9 electoral votes at stake. Too early to call in that state as well. Let's take a look at the electoral college count right now. The vote, where it stands right now. You see Donald Trump takes a very early lead with 19 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton has 3. You need 270. You need 270 to win the presidency. You see the colors there on the map. The red states, those are states that go to Donald Trump. That blue state, Vermont, up in the Northeast, that goes to Hillary Clinton. The yellow states, those are states we cannot yet make a projection. Too early to call right there. Let's go over to Jake. Jake, the action in Virginia and Georgia is going to be intense.
Although I have to say, Virginia, really, of all the states on the map, Virginia is really the one that we're all keeping an eye on, because Hillary Clinton and her team have not really factored Georgia in, and nor have they really gone in and made a play for it. Virginia, if they don't win Virginia, that's going to be a real problem for them. That is one of the states they are absolutely relying upon. So we're going to be watching the results out of Virginia all night very closely.
I totally agree. And just to add to that, on the flip side, Republicans have privately thought that Virginia had been gone for some time. They're expecting to lose Virginia going into this, but they also say that in the past couple of election cycles, it has broken late. There's been a late surge for Republicans. Not enough, though.
All right, let's go to David Chalian right now, who is our political editor. He's looking at exit polls. David, what are you seeing out of Virginia and Georgia?
We're taking a look first in Virginia at the quality in the candidates that voters were looking for. Now that polls have closed, we can look at how they're splitting, Jake. Take a look here. By far and away, the top quality people were looking for were change, the candidate that can bring about change. 40% of Virginia voters wanted a change candidate. And look how they split here. Big Trump category. Trump gets 79% of those voters. Hillary Clinton gets 15% of those Virginia voters. We also looked at right experience. Now, fewer voters in Virginia were looking for the candidate for right experience, but obviously it is an overwhelming Clinton category. 89% to Trump's 8%. Only about 24% of the electorate, though, was looking for a candidate with right experience. In Georgia, we were looking about that anger at the federal government or satisfaction with the federal government. Take a look here. About a quarter of the electorate in Georgia was angry at the federal government, 27%. Obviously a strong Trump category. He wins the angry vote 77% to Clinton's 17% in Georgia. And about a quarter of the electorate is actually satisfied with the federal government. How did the satisfied voters in Georgia vote? Overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton. 81% for Clinton, 14% for Trump, among the quarter of the electorate that is satisfied in Georgia tonight, Jake.
All right, David, thanks so much. And Wolf, obviously, if a large enough percentage of voters in any state or commonwealth goes to the polls wanting change and thinking Donald Trump is the instrument of that change, that does not bode well for Hillary Clinton.
Even, Dana, if the Democrats don't win Georgia this time, 4 years from now, 8 years from now, given the demographic trends, they think they have a shot.
It's certainly possible, especially given the numbers that David Chalian was showing us tonight about how it looks a little bit like, as we were talking about before, Virginia looked 1, 2, 3 cycles ago.
This is a moment, though, that once we start getting these first projections, Jake, that everybody is going to be watching so closely to get trends for these other battleground states.
That's right. I mean, and the question is how many Latinos turn out, how many college-educated voters turn out, how big is the gender gap, what is the results in Virginia might be relevant to results we see in North Carolina or even in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, your home state, all of a sudden, by all accounts, it's in play.
generally speaking, Republicans always seem to hear the siren song of Pennsylvania, and they go there and they try to compete, and ultimately they're not able to. But it does seem as though Donald Trump has been able to really make it competitive outside Philadelphia with the white working class voters that make up so much of his natural base. He has really made that state, or Commonwealth rather, a competitive one.
It's a moment that we're watching very closely. I want to just check in right now with, walk over to John King over at the Magic Wall. John, we're taking a very close look. You've been looking at this one county, Vigo County in Indiana.
Yeah, again, not necessarily instructive, but Vigo County is one of these, it's a quirk county in the sense that they have a great record of picking the winner, voting with the winner. Even when Indiana went red in 2012, if we go back in time, Vigo County voted for President Obama just barely, but he won the election. So I'm just looking, been waiting for the results to come in. We have about 44% of the vote in, and Donald Trump is ahead by a sizable margin. So if that holds up, either Donald Trump's going to be elected the next president or Vigo County's streak is going to end. We won't know that for hours. So strap in and we'll see. But they've been right in 15 straight presidential elections. They've been wrong only twice in the last 100 years in terms of picking the winner at 44%. That tells you something. And that's just one of the streaks we're looking at. And this is a very unorthodox election, so I expect a lot of streaks might be broken tonight, no matter who wins. But one of the other things you do is I'm trying to look in these early states for clues as to performance. Is Donald Trump overperforming Mitt Romney in rural areas where you have white working class voters? So it's one of the things you look at. And so you just look at a county and you look, and Donald Trump's getting 67%. Again, it's only 5% of the vote in, so it might not necessarily hold up. But then you go back and look. Mitt Romney got 60% in this county. So there's a county where Donald Trump is running a little stronger. Doesn't necessarily matter in Indiana, but if you're running stronger with those types of voters, what do you learn in other places? That's why, again, we're looking at Kentucky a lot. Let's come back to 2016.
Let's take a look at Florida, because Florida's
getting tonight.
They're going to be closing at the top of the hour.
Florida, look at that. We have some votes in Florida.
Yeah.
Let's see where those are coming from. One, it's always fun when you see the first votes come into the wall and you try to figure out where they're from. Little Citrus County, it's only less than 1% of the population, but there you go, 0% reporting there. But obviously some votes have come in. Some counties, the early votes, they load them up. They've had a lot of early voting, aggressive early voting in Florida. So what are we going to be looking for overall in Florida? That's the early lead right now. And what are you going to look for? Number one, this is your big Democratic strongholds down here. Hillary Clinton, to win Florida, has to run it up. Let's go back in time and look at this state. Florida was the closest state in the 2012 race. President Obama eked out a very narrow victory. The early voting there, when they dumped those numbers in, that is critical. You heard the panel talking earlier about Democrats think they amped up the Latino vote to help them there. We'll see. What happens down here? A little battleground within the battleground. How does Donald Trump do in Palm Beach County? That's his second home. He thinks he's going to do very well in Florida. Is Donald Trump going to win Palm Beach County? I bet not. It is traditionally a big Democratic county, but the margins within these counties matter. In a very close election, if these are friends of Donald Trump and he can make it, instead of 60-40, make it a little bit closer, those things matter. That's what we're going to watch as we start to watch the results come in Florida, the key Democratic strongholds across here. I'll tell you, Wolf, and this is anecdotal. You call people in these states, you email with people on election days. The Democrats were very happy about their early voting. Hillsborough County, where Tampa is, absolutely critical. Pinellas County, you go to the west out here in St. Petersburg, it's more of a swing county, critical for the Democrats. The Democrats were thrilled with the early voting there. Talking to a friend who knows the organizers down here today, said the Democrats got some jitters today when they saw the long lines of Trump supporters. Right. So we're going to play this out.
Stand by. I want to go to Mark Preston right now. Mark, the polls closed in North Carolina at the bottom of the hour, but there are some important developments you're watching.
Yeah, Wolf, we actually have breaking news right now out of North Carolina. The North Carolina State Board of Elections has agreed to keep the polls open in 8 precincts, anywhere from about 20 minutes to 60 minutes. Now, this has to do, Wolf, with the fact that there was computer glitches. There were computer glitches, Wolf, in some of the precincts earlier today, and those computer glitches caused long lines, and people were being turned away from the polls. Now, the polls right now are scheduled to close at 7:30, so some of them now will close at 8:30. Some of them will close a little bit sooner than that. The Durham County Board of Election had requested, actually, the polls to be open for 90 minutes, Wolf, but they did not get the 90 minutes they asked. As I said, it was a computer glitch problem. And as we look into this right now, this is former Governor Jim Hunt. Before we had actually heard the ruling from the State Board of Elections, he said that this is not an appropriate way to treat human beings. It is heartbreaking, and it follows a deeply troubling pattern of disenfranchisement in the state of North Carolina. Now, Wolf, I should note, in the state of North Carolina, very important to Hillary Clinton, Durham is 38% African-American. Barack Obama won Durham by 76%. in 2008 and in 2012. Wolf.
Interesting stuff. Very interesting indeed. All right, we're going to get back to you, Mark. You know, John Durham. Let's talk a little bit about Durham. They're going to get a little extra. The poll's supposed to close there at the bottom of the hour in a few minutes from now, but they're going to stay open maybe as long as another hour.
As Mark just explained, not as long as the Democrats had hoped for, had requested, but they do get the polls open longer. And as Mark noted, we're going to wait to watch this fill in, but let's go back for historical perspective. This is an overwhelmingly Democratic county. The African-American vote, other Democratic constituencies, and you see a state like this, again, North Carolina, like Florida, one of the most tightly contested states in the United States. So each party knows where its voters are, especially in the age of big data politics. The Clinton campaign has a list. They know who they need to vote here in Durham County. And the question is, you check them off as they go and you try to turn people out. So they're desperate to keep these polls open because in a state as close as North Carolina, Mitt Romney took it back from the Democrats. It's been traditionally Republican there. President Obama won it just barely, 50-50, in 2008. So in a state this closely contested, it's pretty obvious, every vote matters, and so you have these arguments, and it's in a key area of the state, not just Durham, but the Raleigh-Durham area. You have the African-American base out of Durham. You have the research triangle of Raleigh-Durham. This is a key battleground within this battleground state. Absolutely critical to Hillary Clinton to run it up in these areas, and absolutely critical for Donald Trump. His competition in the suburbs is very important here, too, so we'll be a little later counting those votes, obviously, in a state we expect to take us deep into the night.
So they'll stay open for as long as an extra hour. Dana, we're getting our first projections in the balance of power in the U.S. Senate.
That's right, Wolf, we sure are. And let's start with the state of Vermont. Patrick Leahy, already one of the longest-serving senators in history, CNN can project will go on to win an 8th term, defeating his Republican challenger, Scott Milne. Now let's go to the state of Kentucky. Rand Paul, people remember, he started out this campaign running for president, dropped out, then decided to run for re-election. CNN can project that he has won that seat, defeating his Democratic challenger, Jim Gray. Now let's go to South Carolina. Republican incumbent Tim Scott, CNN can project that he will defeat his Democratic challenger, Thomas Dixon. Tim Scott being the first African-American ever to represent the South. Now let's look at key races where we're watching very, very closely. Indiana, again, this is an open seat, a Republican seat. Todd Young, the Republican, at this hour, just about 10% of the vote in, is pretty far ahead Evan Bayh, who is trying to get his old Senate seat back, turn that blue. We're going to be watching that very, very closely. And now we have some where the polls have not yet closed, but we do see some numbers coming in. Marco Rubio, who is running for re-election, is up pretty significantly, but you see only 2% of the vote there. He's up by more than 60,000 votes. We're going to watch that very, very closely. And then another marquee race. This could determine whether or not Republicans keep the Senate. Incumbent Kelly Ayotte is trying to hold on to that, defeat her Democratic challenger, the governor, Maggie Hassan, only 1% in there. This is the one we're going to be watching incredibly closely all night long. So let's look at the balance of power at this hour. Jake, you see there on the big board, 37 right now for Democrats, 32 for Republicans, and 31 of the races that we're watching still not yet called. So, you know, some of the ones that we just called were not big surprises, but still important for the one Democrat and 2 Republicans to get in their column. Indiana, to me, is absolutely fascinating.